it be wonderful if there was just one person that could step forward and solve all of our problems by themselves, unilaterally? Everybody would be on board with that, right? Unfortunately, that's an unrealistic expectation, because when you're trying to solve big issues, whether it be from society, economics, or politics, you have to consider all the layers that are going to be impacted by it. To help people understand that, I like to use a Rubik's Cube. With a Rubik's Cube, every time you move the cube, you're not just moving the color that you want, you're moving all the colors. And as you've got all those moving pieces going along, pretty soon things get jumbled up. So let's use an example here. Let's say the white side is the big issue that we're trying to solve. We're trying to solve the issue of world hunger. Okay? Seems like that should be a pretty simple solution. We produce lots of food, we just need to get it in the hands of the people that need it most, right? Well, unfortunately, it's more than just that. So I'm going to solve this side without taking into consideration any of the other parts. Okay? And if I'm focused on just solving the white side, I should be able to accomplish that relatively quickly. And voila! I just solved world hunger. Woohoo! Good for me! Except we've got problems. Because I can come up with a plan to solve world hunger, but I got to get everybody else on board with it. So now let's consider the cube in greater detail. Let's say that the green side of the cube represents farmers. The blue side of the cube represents the transportation. Let's say the red side of the cube represents the American people, or the citizens of the society, and that the orange side represents the government. And then finally, we've got the banks with the yellow. As I look at the cube now, I haven't come near close to solving this issue. I have a framework, but it's not a very sturdy framework, and it's going to need some adjustments in order to make it successful. So I'm going to start again by trying to rebuild the framework to make it something that's going to be more efficient and more effective for that. And to do that, I have to start lining up the squares on the sides, right down the middle. I have to start getting those lined up. So I've got my farmers on board. I've got my transportation on board. Now I need to get the American people on board, get the government on board, and then we'll work on getting the money from the banks. So I'm going to redo this cube so that I've got more support for the solution of ending world hunger. Now, if you notice, this is taking a little bit longer than it did when I was just looking at the issue of world hunger in isolation, because I have to make considered decisions. I have to consider how the movement of this cube is going to affect the movement of this cube. So it's going to be a longer, more drawn-out process, but I have to stay on top of it, because if I don't, then I'm going to come up with an imperfect solution, and it's not really going to address the problem the way that we want it to. All right, there we go. So I've got my framework for the solution, and I've got some people on board. I got my transportation people on board. I've got the American people somewhat on board. I've got farmers almost all the way on board, and I've got the government, but not so much with the banks yet. So now I have to consider solving the next level. I have to get the next level so that it all matches, so that everybody's on the same page. Well, again, this is going to be a little bit more of a long, drawn-out process, because I have to consider how my moves will impact everything else. If I make a wrong move, then I disrupt the people that are already on board with my solution. If I make a correct move, then I'm getting closer to solving the problem. Okay. Through some consideration, some patience, I've been able to get the majority of people on board with this. But I still don't have the money I need, and I still don't have everyone on board. And this is where things get even trickier, because once we try to get everybody on board, we might start making compromises that will lose us this person here, but gain this person here. And it's an awful hard sell to get everybody on the exact same page when it comes to major issues. I'm going to try anyway. Okay. Oop, I'm a little bit closer. Another step closer to getting it all figured out here. Getting those rows lined up, getting everybody on board, but I still don't have my support from the banks yet. All right, let's see. What are we going to do next? Again, the closer we get to solving the problem, the trickier it becomes, because holdouts might ask for something that we're going to give them that is going to turn other people who've been on board from the beginning away from the whole concept. So let's see here. All right. Now, I've got the pieces in the right place. There we go. I've got the pieces in the right place, I just have them in the wrong order. And if I rush the conclusion, if I rush the process, I risk losing all the support that I've gained, and I can't give up midway, because if I look at it right now, it looks like I've just totally wrecked my cube. But if I stay persistent and I keep working on the issue, and other people are willing to compromise, then pretty soon we've got the whole solution. So what's the moral of the story? One person alone can't unilaterally solve all of our problems. It's going to take a multi-layer effort to solve these issues, whether it be societal, political, or economic. We have to think about all the elements, all the people, all the elements, all the resources that are going to be impacted by our decisions. And yeah, we can probably get the cube to look okay with only benefiting a couple of people. But if we want to have true lasting change to make things more whole, we need to make sure that we're reaching out and getting information out to everyone involved with this process and trying to get their support. Even this is an oversimplification because we're never going to get everybody to be on the exact same page, but we can try. And it's through the trying that we can make things better. Thanks for watching.